Hello, my friends. It is so good to see you again. I wanted to do another installation of the another installment of the Cozy Money Chats. I did one of these in late 2024, I think. It was around the holidays, and I figured a couple months have gone by. It would be fun to just do a more casual update, have a cup of tea or coffee together, chat about money and how my goals are progressing, and just chat about how 2025 has been going so far, because we are almost 2 months in, which is crazy. I can't actually believe that that is true. It's both gone very quickly and has felt like it's been forever. So yeah, I think that would accurately sum up 2025 thus far. So with that, I have a cup of hot chocolate that I made. I am still a giant kid, so that's what my beverage of choice is this afternoon. And I'll be doing a combination of just kind of life updates, money updates, and there are a few specific things I want to touch on today. One is that I actually got my bonus from work last week, so I want to sit down and make a plan for the money. I had sort of done that, but I really wasn't sure how much was going to come in. Bonuses get taxed so heavily, and so I just wasn't sure how much was going to see my bank account really at all. So I was kind of holding off, but now that the money has hit my bank account, I want to make a plan for all of that money and make sure that I am spending it and saving it and investing it wisely. So I thought that would be fun to sit down and do that together today and just walk you through how I make these decisions, how I make plans for my money, and make sure that I'm being mostly responsible with it, but also still ideally having some fun with it. And then I figured we can just chat about money goals more generally, how things are progressing towards saving up for a home down payment, taxes coming up. Let's just talk about whatever is on our minds right now, and let me know in the comments what you are thinking about right now. Is it are you in the throes of tax season right now? How are your money goals going so far in 2025? I would love to hear from you down below. But maybe first we can just talk about life a little bit. I can't believe it's already the end of February. It feels like January was going so slowly and then February disappeared. I truly have no idea what happened. It has been an okay start to the year. Not great. Which, you know what, I'm kind of okay with at this point. I feel like an okay start to the year is, I'm fine with that. Compared to some of the prior years, that feels just fine with me. But yeah, this time of year is always a little strange here, and we've been having a really cold, snowy winter here in Toronto. So and I feel like we're pretty well equipped for it here in Canada, but it's been particularly bad. And I feel like I am getting to the point of winter where I'm just be done with it already. I feel like that's usually the trend. I do really well in November, December, into January. I'm I feel good. Winter isn't so bad. And then something about by month 4, you're the seasonal depression really hits. It's been dark for so long. It's so bitterly cold and snowy in February a lot of the time. So it's just, unless you have managed to escape to a tropical paradise for a couple weeks, it just feels really hard by the end of February. So I feel like I'm very much in that place right now. But an absolutely incredible highlight was that my sister came and visited from the West Coast. She was here for over a week, maybe 10 days-ish, something like that. And she stayed with me and we had the best time. There is nothing like just having family staying with you and then you spend so much time together and you get to wake up in the morning together and have coffee and hang out. And we did a bunch of fun things while she was here too. She went off and explored the city a bunch while I was working during the day. But in the evenings and weekends and stuff, we did some fun things. We went to some fun bookshops. We went thrifting, just some really nice, chill activities like that. But really the main thing was just spending time together, because she is in BC and we don't see that much of each other, unfortunately. And it was such a nice light in the darkness of winter to have that trip to look forward to. And yeah, that visit was just super fun. Other than that, it has largely been a hibernation season. I have been staying home a lot more than usual. I feel again, just with the weather, with the snow, we were essentially snowed in. Driving has still been awful. Like the city has done nothing to clear all of the snow. Like it's finally melting, but they did not do a good job dealing with this. So yeah, it has made it really not fun to try to get places on foot or by car, or our public transit that was really affected. So it just hasn't been a fun time to try to get out and do stuff. I was also doing a low buy in January, so I was already trying to really like cut my entertainment spending, not buy on books, toiletries, like online shopping, and just like not really going out a ton. So yeah, I always figured January is a good month to do it. If you live in the Northern Hemisphere and you are in a winter climate, like January is just not a month where you're probably going to be wanting to do a whole lot. So that was very much my experience. I read a bunch of books. I'm already on my 5th or 6th book of the year, which for me is pretty good. You know, I'm kind of bumping up my reading goal each year, and I think I've set it to 25 books this year. So we're on our way. Another really fun project that I am currently working on and is ongoing, also in the interest of saving money and decluttering, is a project pan, which I will link. So go check out those videos if you're interested. But a project pan is really just using up your makeup and beauty products and skincare that you already have. It's it's really shocking how much those kinds of products accumulate. I'm not a big makeup person. Like obviously I don't really wear a ton of makeup, and somehow I still accumulate a lot of this stuff. So if you are someone who is really into beauty, the stuff accumulates, and a lot of it even I feel like can be gifts. It's gifted to you. So I'm working really hard on using up all of the lotions and potions and eyeshadows and lip glosses and all of the things that I have, because I just got to a point where I was so sick of opening my medicine cabinet in my bathroom and just like things like falling out and just everything is in piles and stacks everywhere. And I was like, I can't do this. I can't do this anymore. And then I think also the final straw was I had bought like a retinol without realizing that I already had an unopened retinol under my bathroom sink. And I was just like, see, this is where it becomes a problem when you don't even know what you have anymore. That was my sign. I was like, I need to focus on just like boycotting new things. I'm not buying new beauty and skincare. I am focusing very much on using up what I already have. So I am now a few months into the project pan. It's going great. I've been able to pan some stuff. I've been able to finish up some products completely. There are many more products that I am like kind of halfway through, I'm progressing through, and I'm actively working through, and I'm hoping to pan or have made good progress on by my next update, which will be in about a month. So subscribe if you want to come back for that update. But this has just been so good in all of the ways. It's been so good in like not spending and saving money, because I have spent $0 so far in 2025 on toiletries, skincare, makeup, beauty, hair, nothing. I spent $0. And then it also has all of these other benefits of like, I'm reducing my consumption. I think becoming a more mindful consumer and really thinking a lot more carefully about what kinds of products I am buying. Because now that I'm realizing how long it takes to use some of this stuff up, I'm like, I'm never gonna buy an eyeshadow palette willy-nilly like ever again, because they take a long time to use up, and there's just no need. We don't need as much stuff as we think we do. And I feel like this is just particularly well timed, because I'm also in a place where I don't know where you are all at right now, but I am just like, I'm wanting to boycott everything. I don't want to give my money to Amazon, don't want to give my money to big companies. Also in Canada, we're essentially kind of like largely boycotting a lot of American products. It's unfortunate that it's come to this, but that's kind of where we're at. And I really don't want to support Trump's economy. I don't want to give my money to American companies right now. It's already that something prior to all of this mess was something that was, I'd say, pretty tough for Canadian consumers. You're already getting dinged by the exchange rate. For a lot of products from the US, we're already paying like customs and duty. And so like there are certain beauty products, for instance, that I get from the States. And I might have to figure that out, actually. I might have to figure out a dupe for some of those things, because again, I don't know if I want to support anymore, if I want to buy my beauty products from American companies when I could buy Korean or buy Canadian or whatever. My feelings will very much change under different leadership, but for now, there are lots of wonderful Canadian companies that I would prefer to give my dollars to. Yeah, I mean, it is what it is. I feel like our hand has kind of been forced, unfortunately. I don't think anyone here wanted it to come to this, so yeah, it's that's where we are. It's going to be really interesting to see what like the economic implications are for the US in the coming months. I know that like tourism has already taken a massive hit in America to the tune of like billions and billions of dollars. So, you know, the tariffs are just one piece of it, right? Like there's so many other, our economies are so interconnected, our tourism, everything about our two countries is incredibly intertwined. So I don't know what people thought would happen, but like, this all just feels so unnecessary. Anyway, it just feels like a great time to not be buying stuff, or to be buying less stuff, and to be buying a lot more mindfully. And I encourage you to do the same. Like, stop giving your money to Amazon if you can. Stop giving your money to Target and like massive corporations. Except for like larger corporations who are kind of doing the right thing. Like I think Costco has shown themselves time and time again to be like a pretty stand-up company on a lot of different fronts. So like, go buy all your stuff at Costco now. I feel like there are lots of things that we can all collectively do, and these companies are nothing without us. They're nothing without their consumers. So yeah, if you're getting annoyed with billionaires right now, I feel like that's a great place to start. So now I want to go into chatting about my bonus and how I want to allocate this. And I did a similar video last year. This is my second year getting a bonus with my current company, but it's the first year that I got a full year's bonus, if that makes sense. Because I started halfway through a year, my bonus last year was like prorated based on the number of months that I had worked at that company. So this was my first year where I had been at the company for all of 2024. And so where I was actually granted like a full bonus. And these bonuses are performance-based. So that money hit in my last paycheck, which was super exciting to see. And like I said, bonuses get taxed really significantly upfront. I feel like I will get some of that back when I actually file, not this tax season, but like next year. But for whatever reason, and it was the same in the US, I remember, I don't know why they just really take a lot off the top, I guess just to make sure that you're not gonna have to owe money on it later. But yeah, anyway, not my favorite, but it is what it is. So I wanted to wait and see how much hit my bank account before I decided how I wanted to allocate it. And I've been a little torn about this because I think I was chatting about this in my last cozy money chat. It's just so hard when you have so many different financial goals. And I know that we're all in a position where we probably all have like multiple things that we are wanting to do with our money, multiple different debts that you want to pay off, multiple different things that you want to save for, multiple different sinking funds that you're trying to fund. And I really struggle with that. Like it's really hard for my personality. I don't know why. Like I find myself like really wanting to go all in on certain goals. And I think that was the conclusion I kind of came to in my last money chat, was maybe the answer for me is that I'm just the kind of person who should just like tunnel vision on one goal and like put all my money towards it. And then, you know, like later in the year, I can switch to other goals. And so I think I had kind of committed to that, and I was really going to focus on saving for a down payment. Now, this is hard, right? Because like life kind of changes and my situation is changing, and the immediacy with which I'm going to buy a home, I don't know, it's kind of shifting, to be honest. So I have a hard time feeling really all in on that goal when like I don't have a fully funded emergency fund. You know what I mean? Like it just, the more I'm thinking about it, the more it feels not backwards, but just maybe misguided to like, for instance, take my whole bonus and like put it all into my house down payment fund. I don't know if that's the best idea. Because I think initially when I was thinking about my bonus and how to spend it, I was like, oh, I'll just put like 80% of it into my FHSA, my first home savings account. That's a tax advantaged account that we have here in Canada. And so I was thinking, oh, just like put like most of your bonus into that. And the more that time goes on, and especially looking around and like looking at how the layoffs have continued, I don't know. I just feel not great about putting all of that money away into an account where I can't access it again, because it is very much like an RSP or a 401k where like you can't just withdraw that money anytime. Or like if you do, you are paying a pretty serious tax penalty. So like if I were to get laid off, like I can't tap that money. And as someone who is single, as someone who works in a pretty unstable field, like I work in tech, I just don't know how good I feel about putting like all of my bonus towards my house down payment fund. So I've been doing some of that thinking and trying to, compromise a little bit, but then it's putting me back in that place where I'm putting like a little bit towards this goal and a little bit towards that goal and a little bit towards that goal, which feels very unsatisfying. But I think that's just the right thing to do right now. And I might switch gears again and kind of go more all in on some things, next month and for the next few months, but maybe my focus should be my emergency fund. Like maybe that's where my focus should be, like I think if your gut is trying to tell you something, that you should listen. And right now, my gut is really telling me, put money in your emergency fund. So with that, let's break down where I'm going to put my bonus. So the compromise that I came to is that I came up with like a rough dollar amount of kind of how much I wanted to put into my first home savings account. And it's going to be that I'm putting roughly 40% of my bonus towards my FHSA. This still feels good to me. It feels like it's allowing me to make a good amount of progress towards that fund, which I feel like I need right now. I need a little pick me up. Like I want to feel like I'm actually making some progress towards the down payment. And I feel like it's just been really slow lately. So I'm really excited about still being able to put like a good chunk of money towards that. And then I'm going to put 20% into my emergency fund. So that right there is going to be 60% of my bonus allocated just for like the house down payment and the emergency fund. And the reason I came up with 20% is because that is actually going to comfortably push my emergency fund to like 3 months worth of expenses. I had been sitting at a point where it was kind of like 2 and a bit months, something like that, maybe 2.5 months. And this is comfortably pushing me into having like a 3+ month emergency fund, which makes me feel better. It's still lower than I would like, but the common, guidance and advice is 3 to 6 months. I feel like if I'm squarely in the 3-month range, then that makes me feel a lot better. And then I am going to put about 15% into my TFSA. That still feels like a reasonable thing to do because at least money in my TFSA, I can access it if I need it. Like if something happens, then money in my TFSA is still accessible. So I try not to think of it that way. Like I try to think of my TFSA as like off limits, that's investing for the future. And that's the best use of that account is to invest for like the future. But I do feel comfort in putting money in there because I know that I could always withdraw it again if I needed it. So saving and investing some in my TFSA feels good right now. And that is an account that I have been really trying to slowly build back up since I moved back from the US. When I moved to the US, I had to liquidate my TFSAs because the IRS does not recognize those accounts, like the tax status of them, I mean. So I just liquidated them when I left Canada. It was easier. And so I've really been trying to build them back up from zero. And it's nice to have something like a bonus where you can actually put, you know, more than a couple $100s at once into the account so that I can actually feel like I'm making a little bit of progress. And I'm pretty close to hitting a milestone in my TFSA, so I feel like that's also really nice too, and it always gives me a little bit of extra encouragement, like when, you know, you're coming up to like the $5,000 mark or the $10,000 mark, 15, 20, like it's nice to have those milestones to look forward to, and I'm coming up to one of those milestones in my TFSA, so it's just like nice to have this like nudge towards that. I decided to put none of this year's bonus into my RRSP. That might seem like a silly decision, and I might agree with you. I don't know. I might agree with you there. I think it's just the kind of thing where, you know, I put some of my bonus into my RSP last year, I think because I was starting my RSP like from scratch with my employer, and I really just wanted to give it like a little head start. I wanted to, you know, get some, you know, like a couple $1,000s in there just to kind of like kick it off. But, you know, this year it's like I'm contributing out of every paycheck. My RSP is slowly and steadily growing. I'm actually getting a match from my employer now, so that is also helping like build up my RSP more quickly. So I feel like I'm making progress on that front. And also I get the tax benefit from my FHSA anyway. So if I'm gonna be putting money in to get the tax advantage, like for me right now, it's just more important to me to put it in the FHSA. So either way, it is lowering my taxable income. So that was my rationale for not putting any into my RSP this year, but I think that's an excellent choice. If you get a windfall or if you get a bonus, to put a bunch of it into an RSP, like that is going to be really nice at tax time. You are going to get a good chunk back if you do that. And so I feel like it's always a great option. I feel like you can't go wrong putting windfall money into an RRSP. So we have 75% of my bonus allocated now. That leaves 25%, which is going to go to other things that are not savings. 20% I'm going to earmark for travel and gifts. And that's just because I want to make sure I have some money set aside for travel this year, even if it's just smaller things like doing trips around Ontario, being able to get a cottage here again, maybe. That was something I did last summer. So I don't know. I want to make sure I have the money there. There's a possibility I might go out to the West Coast at some point. So I just like having some money set aside for that. And then also my sister is getting married this year. And so I just want to make sure I'm earmarking some money for a gift ahead of time so that I'm not like, you know, strapped later in the year when the time comes. Like I just want to make sure that I have that money set aside. So it's kind of like a little mini sinking fund. And then that means the other 5% is earmarked for charity. So I was trying to think about what I wanted to do with this money, and this was actually super timely. So I'm on the mailing list of, this is an old acquaintance of mine from New York. And when I was living in New York, like we met up a few times, you know, we'd like grab a beer together on occasion, but he runs a nonprofit, and I'm still on their mailing list as it turns out. And I always, you know, would try to support it here and there when I could. And so I got an email from his org the other day basically saying that they are in like full on crisis mode right now. I think largely because of like the Trump cuts. I think that they were very much like USAID funded. So as we all know, that's like, yeah, not good. And like most of my friends in the US are working in the nonprofit space. So I know quite a few people who have already been impacted by all of these cuts, whether they've lost their job or the nonprofit they work at is being, you know, severely impacted by all of these cuts. It's just a really devastating time. And so the email was just a call for donations, you know, I think to really help them in this interim period. I think they're trying to figure out what the new direction for their nonprofit is going to be, given the lack of funding. So I want to donate some of it to that. And so whether that'll be, you know, like, I don't know, it'll be in USD, I guess. So then I always have to do the conversion, but I'll put some of that money towards that, and then I will put the balance towards one of the other causes that I typically kind of rotate through, which generally at this point is often like GoFundMe's or money for Gaza, and sometimes giving money to like abortion funds, sometimes animal shelters. Okay, so that is my bonus. That is what I am doing with that money. That is the main exciting thing that has happened in my finances in the last couple months. Other than that, I'm really just doing the usual, tracking my spending, trying to save. Other than that, I guess it's tax time. So, you know, it's that time of year, getting tax slips together and all of that fun stuff. I am kind of a nerd, I will admit that, but also I do like tax season because I always get money back. And that's not my fault, it's just how my situation always tends to work out. And even things like if you put money into an FHSA, you have to get that money back at tax time. There isn't a way to like pay less taxes throughout the year. So yeah, it just always means that I'm getting like thousands of dollars back. So I'm usually in a hurry to file my return, and I will definitely be doing that as soon as I can in March. It's interesting. Tax slips come out way later in Canada than in the US. Like I remember when I was living in New York, like I feel like I always filed my taxes in like February because like all the slips were already out. And here I'm like, I only just got my T4 this week, and none of my bank slips are ready. So like, I feel like you don't get your RSP slip or your FHSA slips until like March sometimes. So yeah, anyway, it just kind of like delays things a little bit, but you know, all good. Hopefully, fingers crossed, this tax season goes off without a hitch. I say that and I don't want to jinx it, but you know, like last year was a little rocky. So I'm excited to file and just hopefully get my return back with no issues. And if you were doing the same, if you were in the midst of tax season, I'm sending you all the good vibes, and I hope you're doing so well in general. Please let me know down in the comments how the year has been going so far, how your money goals are progressing, and I can't wait to hear from you in the comments. And I will see you on the next one. Bye.